Today on the show, I have Dan Chan. He's the GM and owner of the Commercial Drone Group. When I think of a drone, I think of Amazon in the future going to be able to drop packages. But Dan actually uses drones on construction sites to do site mapping, show progress photos, reduce owners' stress, hold people accountable. He even can do volumetric calculations for excavators. This is a technology that can save you money, and this episode is one that you gotta listen to because you need to figure out how you can use drones in your organization. This is Help, I'm a Contractor podcast. Hi, I'm Seth Lewis. I am a blue-collar business coach. Finally, someone that understands what contractors actually go through. My goal and vision is to connect business owners with knowledge while tackling some of the industry's toughest challenges. Please subscribe to my content and let's support each other to create awareness for our industry. Check out what I have going on at www.bluecollarbusinesscoach.net. Check out my book that has helped business owners across the country change their business and their life. But for now, it's time for the show. Let's get it. Dan, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Pretty good, Seth. How are you?
It's great to have you. I'm excited to talk about, Commercial Drone Group. But the first question that I just want to get out there is, do you have any crazy stories with a drone? And we're talking about drones that fly and take pictures and all that stuff. So I got to ask you, do you have any crazy stories?
When I first started up about 2 years ago, I got a marketing job to take pictures of an industrial commercial building site. I'm all nervous because it's my first job. Took my bird up, did an orbital pattern to take some great pictures. I thought I was doing well. All of a sudden, I just saw something flash, something black. All of a sudden, I'm looking up there, and being old, I couldn't see that far. There was a hawk trying to take down my bird. So I'm trying to run away from him, going up, going down. So that was exciting.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. What would you say? Where does the word bird come from? So as we were talking, that's the first time I actually heard of that.
Okay.
Bird. So is that a common term in the drone industry, or what's that like?
I don't know. I call it a bird because to me, that's what it is. But I have 5 drones that I use, and each one's very specific. Just like a tool belt, you got a hammer for a reason, you got a screwdriver for a reason. My drones have all a purpose, but they're all named after pigs. And the reason is when a friend of mine said, we talked about drones and said, yeah, that'll happen when pigs fly. Well, they do fly. So I got Porky, I got Miss Piggy, I have Wilbur. So they're all named after pigs.
That's pretty cool. When you said they're different, I think people can relate to different tools, whether you need a hammer, a wrench, or air tools or whatever. Tell us a little bit more about the different applications that, these 5 birds. What do they do? How are they used? And just kind of give us some background of the different types and the applications for drones.
The first one I do is I do site mapping of a construction site and progress photos. It gives you a overall view, like a Google map view of a job site. I perform that about every 2 weeks, and you can get down into really detailed pictures for inspection for whatever you need done. And I have a DJI Phantom 4 for that because it's a workhorse. It's like a Ford pickup or a Chevy pickup. It's something you take out there. Whatever I throw at it, it works great. There's another one I have where I do inspections of buildings, of roofs, of assets, towers and such, that has more of a obstacle avoidance, a great camera on it. So it helps me not run into buildings or trees or cables or that kind of thing. The other birds I have are for more marketing pictures. It's a higher resolution, so gives great pictures from an aerial perspective.
How often do you run into challenges where, I had a drone. I mean, it was probably $20. So that's probably embarrassing to even say, but it was the first one. I tried to fly it one time and I just kind of lost it. It went crazy. It actually got in my wife's hair. When I have a picture of it, I should have brought or showed the picture of it. Maybe I'll add that as a clip. If she'll let me. But I was flying it. It was a little drone, and I lost control of it, and it ended up in her hair, and it just kind of just
Yeah.
turned the hair, and it was just a mess. So when I think of a drone, there's two drones that I think of. I think of this drone that flew into my wife's hair, which is
Mhm.
obviously a cheap one. And then I think of the ones that people talk about for Amazon, the future,
Oh,
stuff like
mhm.
that. So for the audience, where are they? The ones that you fly, are they in the middle? Are they these huge things that are delivering packages and have all sorts of cameras? Or what's the difference and which ones do you use?
The ones I use are smaller. They're the size of a small suitcase, um, big lunchbox for me, that kind of thing. But the cost is between normally $2,000 to $5,000. They are normally mounted with a RGB or DSLR camera to be able to take all these pictures. There, I can also get a thermal camera on there, so I can take thermal images to see the a building envelope to see if it's leaking cold air, hot air, and to see electrical shorts, which is a great thing. People use these drones with the thermal to be able to see in an agricultural setting where water is pooling, and they'll know that the crops aren't going to do well there. So yeah, I would put it in the middle. It's smaller and it's great for a small business to use.
That's it's so interesting, as I hear you list some of the applications and the uses. And I don't think that most people understand or are aware of the value of drones and what they can do. So
Mhm.
you mentioned a lot of great things to start, but maybe just take us through how it's used in construction and maybe start with a little bit of your background and how you got into construction and what took you to this path, because I think it's very interesting. I think it's something that we don't understand, but there's a lot of value in it. So maybe how you got into construction, your background, then we can kind of talk about, what that looks like and the value in it.
Okay, yeah. This started back in the late 60s, way back when. I was part of the Civil Air Patrol. I was a cadet. I was an 8-year old. All we did was do use the mimeograph machine for the older cadets and do whatever they wanted. We didn't get to touch anything, but we got to see the planes. And this is during the Vietnam War. So everyone's trying to help in any way that they can. So that was my first exposure to aviation. Back then, no one flew. It wasn't as common as today. So that's where it started. My first drone was made out of balsa wood and a piece of string. You just went around in a circle, it flew, it ran into the walls, it ran into my brother, it ran into my parents. Just and from there it just kept on growing. Back in 2006, I went to the mall with my wife. I was bored, so I went to a store called Sharper Image, and I saw this helicopter here going, man, this is the coolest thing. It's the first drone I've ever seen. And I've always enjoyed like remote control airplanes and boats, tanks, cars. But it's like, man, this one, you can do something with this. Thought about it for a bunch of years. And about 5 years ago, it rekindled in my mind that, hey, this can do this can do that. Just after COVID, it's like, yeah, I think I want to do this. I got a drone, crashed a bunch of them into trees, into buildings, wires. Okay, I've learned how to do that. It's like learning how to drive a stick shift. You're going to grind some gears. So at that point, I went and got a real drone and just learned to fly. Got my FAA license. Um, I was a general contractor before, so I'm very familiar with what happens on a job site. So just merging the two was great.
Did you find that you knew there was a need for this, or did it just kind of evolve? Or how do you see the need for, hey, here's a drone and we can take pictures of it? Tell me about that.
Um, the job I had before I was doing this was really helpful. I was a product designer or a product developer. People would hire me going, I have a problem. What can we do to fix it? So I came up with things for industrial, or excuse me, heavy civil construction with cement, with concrete, with different things and solutions for them. So I enjoy seeing a problem and trying to figure out a solution for it. I saw a solution here. It's like, what can this do? And came up with this and just kind of developed with the field.
So when you started, were people already doing this, or was it kind of new? Is it been how long is this drone taking pictures of this, been around? I would say in the construction. So I know probably, militarily, it's been around for many years. Mm-hmm. But when you think about it as a contractor in construction, is this new? How long have people been doing it?
It's been becoming mainstream in the last 4 to 5 years. It was here beforehand, but with the technology they have now, with the resolution of the cameras, what it can do, that I can do a 2D map that you can look down and see everything, or a 3D map of a building, and that's called a digital twin, that the GC doesn't need to go to a job site. They can pull up a 3D map or a 3D image of their building and say, why is that there? It's not supposed to be there. They can compare that to a CAD drawing, overlay it, and see exactly what's supposed to be where. There are stories about with these mapping, they were ready to pour the concrete. And they did a flyover to make sure everything's okay. The GC had to sign off on it. And they noticed that the sanitary ditches and where the pipes were 9 feet from where they were supposed to be. So instead of pouring it, figuring out it's the wrong place, ripping it out and modifying everything, they could do it beforehand. I've heard about elevator shafts being in the wrong location and the same thing. So it takes away all uncertainty. Everyone can see from the same picture, same image, exactly what's happening. Subcontractors get paid quicker because, yep, this is done. This was on my list. You can see it done. Pay me. Or the GC comes back going, you said it's done, but it's not. So I'm not paying you until you get it done. So it helps both parties.
What was done before?
They use surveyors to come out and actually survey the land. What I can do on a project, it takes me about an hour or two to map a site to be able to get the deliverable out to my client. It would take a surveyor, depends on the size, anywhere from a day to a week to be able to come up with the same information. And they're coming up with calculations with hand drawings or drafting, where I'm coming up with actual images that the viewer can actually measure, see, and inspect it.
Wow, that's really powerful. Is it, I would assume it's just like like a program that captures all this information.
Exactly.
It's meant specifically for this.
Correct. There's a couple large ones in the industry that we utilize, but yeah, there's no way that an individual could compile this. When we do like a 2D mapping of, let's say, a 20-acre site, there are maybe 100,000 pictures, or excuse me, 1,000, 1,500 pictures that need to be meshed together to be able to make this large picture. When Google Map comes out, they don't take one picture of, I'm in Cleveland, so one picture of the city of Cleveland. They take thousands upon thousands of pictures. That way you can zoom down, zoom out, and get whatever detail that you need.
That's interesting. I like the way that you did that or shared that with Google, because a lot of people are familiar with either Google Street View or whatever. So it sounds like it's similar program or software.
It is. It is.
So what Google's doing and what you're doing is just taking rapid photos
Yes,
at different dimensions. It's almost like a flip book.
it is. It is. The difference is they do it once a year, once every 6 months, and I could do it every day if you needed that kind of progress, once a week, once every 2 weeks. It's basically up to the client what their needs are. With this information, they're able to share it between the general contractor, the owner, the architect, all the subcontractors. They're all looking at the exact same picture. They're able to notate it, measure things, and they can talk exactly in the same language. It doesn't matter where in the world they are.
That's awesome. How have you seen contractors using this so far? And I guess my question would be, who's using it? Is it smaller firms, medium, large? Like and I guess the other thing that I would say is how many firms are using this in the percentage of the industry? Is it not used much? Is it like growing rapidly? What have you seen?
It's growing fairly quickly. I would say about 40% of builders are utilizing it. I work in the commercial realm, not in the residential, so I don't have any information about that. But there is, the larger firms are using it. They have an internal drone department that they go and do this. They send out their own pilots to do whatever they need to do. And they can travel around the city, around the state, region, whatever to do this. I mainly work with small to medium-sized firms where they don't have their own system yet because it costs a lot for the equipment, for the training, to be FAA certified, to be able to fly, to handle the liability, that kind of thing. I need to be insured. I need to have my licenses and to run my business professionally. Yeah, you can hire your nephew that has a drone to go up there and hopefully not pull it out of his aunt's hair to be able to go take some pictures. But they can get some serious FAA fines for hiring a non-licensed pilot. So there's a lot of legalities to understand.
How difficult is it, or what's the process to become certified?
We go through a lot of the same questions that actual small pilots, small plane pilots have to do. We need to know weather, we need to know maps, regions, airports, wind speed, all that kind of stuff. And then you need to know the aviation part of it. What yaw is, what's this, what's that, what's an elevator for, and where we can fly, where we can't, where we need to get authorization when we're within 5 miles of an airport. So there's a lot of information that you need to learn. It took me about a year to study for that. Again, because since I'm a little on the older side, it takes a while. I need to get the crayons out and everything. And
we'll be right back to the show. I want to invite you to my Blue Collar Mastermind group. This is a group of blue-collar business owners who share input on tough topics, support, celebrate, and learn from each other. The world's best business owners, leaders, actors, athletes, and musicians all have coaches or are part of a similar group to grow and succeed. If you want more from your business, have limited time, don't want to break the bank, this group is for you. Learn more and apply to the group at bluecollarbusinesscoach.net.
I need to get the crayons out and everything, and just to help me understand. But I passed, and that was good.
Yeah, that's a great thing. When I think of flying, there was a story the other day of, the president was, I think towards the beach or something like that, and a small plane pilot flew over, and I always am intrigued. It doesn't matter the president, but just the way they guard the airspace.
Yeah.
So, all of a sudden there's fighter jets and they're there. So I have this funny vision of you flying or somebody flying a drone in a no-fly zone, and all of a sudden the fighter jets come beside it and just take it out. It's completely doesn't make any sense, and it's just a make-believe thing, but that's what I think of. So is there any way to, do you have to radio? And maybe these are silly questions, but I don't
No.
know.
Mhm.
Is there any way to communicate with air traffic control? Because when I was listening to this story, they were trying to communicate to this pilot and he wasn't on the right channel. So as you're FAA certified and you're flying and you're in territories and whether it's cities or close to airports, do you have to have some type of walkie talkie or do you just check in?
No, when I'm close to an airport, I do have a radio that I can hear the air traffic on what's happening. I can hear the pilots talking, the ATC air traffic controllers. If I'm within the 5 miles, I'm in contact with the person in charge of that tower. It's a fun thing, and you see kids playing with them. But down in Peru, a DJI P4, which is what I have for my mapping, took down a military helicopter down in Peru. They were just flying the helicopter. The drone went up, took out the front window, and both pilots got injured from the glass shattering and all that. So it is a serious thing. And when people do that, it hurts the industry. It hurts my business because people only think about that. When I first started this, all they're thinking about is the Global Hawk or the big ones that launch that the military uses for missiles and that. Like, no, I don't have any of that stuff. I take pictures. I do this as a business. So,
So what would be a good contractor to work with you, or who should leverage this? Because a lot of times when you have a new idea, one of the things I love about this show is introducing contractors to new ideas and helping them see different things.
mhm,
And I really get inspired and I love doing episodes like this because it's just something that people aren't always familiar with.
mhm,
And I don't want to assume that they know about it
mhm.
and who should use it. So when you think about this, who should consider doing this and what size company?
Okay. Um, a general contractor should if they're doing exterior work because you can actually see the difference. They'll be able to see the ground. We can go there pre-bid if they're bidding on a project and you're just looking at grass and land and that kind of thing. But we can do volumetric measurements. You see this mound of dirt. Well, what's it going to take for me to get rid of that mound of dirt? How big is that? And we can actually tell them how big that thing is, what work they need to do, what it's like beforehand. So anyone that does exterior work would be able to utilize this. If I were them, I would hire a company like myself, a drone service provider that would do the work, but also we would educate you on what we could do, what the deliverables are. And as you grow and you want more information and keep on going, you can develop your own program if you'd like to do it that way to bring it in house. It's just the same as bringing all the other trades in. You can have the plumber, the electrician, the rough carpenter, the finished carpenter, everyone in house if you want, or you can just sub everything out. It's up to you.
That's really interesting when you said about, the volumetric calculations for excavators,
Mhm.
to be able to dig and know. How are they doing that now, or what technology is being used? Are they all using drones, or what percentage are using them currently, would you say?
I'm not sure about percentage, but a lot of drone operators can do this. Again, it goes back to our special software that will measure it. We can measure the what it's like on the sides, the elevation of that, with the top, what the angles are, and be able to do through the algorithm get it pretty accurate within I think it was 3% of what the actual volume is. Another way that they're doing originally is again going back to the surveyor, and they actually measure it, but they physically have to go out there and measure it. So it's going from a crew of 3 to 5 people and a couple days to be able to do that, or send me out there in an hour and I'll get it to you. So your choice.
So what I'm hearing is there's a lot of cost savings by doing this.
Exactly. Cost and time.
And you can turn it around how quickly?
Um, if you want, I could get the information to you within the hour. So
Wow.
it's
That
real quick.
that's
So we got a
impressive.
lot of rush jobs.
Yeah, so I think this is, again, I love these episodes because I don't think there's awareness to this technology. And
Hmm.
I think people can use it, don't know it's there, and can save them money. So one of the things I'd like to kind of explore, and maybe you have some different examples of what can this save people. So contractors always want to know, okay, if I'm going to buy this service, if I'm going to do this,
Hmm.
what is it going to save me? And what I'm hearing is it's a lot. I'm hearing that it can be sewer lines in the wrong place and corrected, and not paying people and all that type of stuff. But just kind of walk me through a couple different examples and maybe how much they could save by doing this, or the inverse is how much did it cost somebody by not documenting it?
Hmm.
Because I think in order for contractors to see the value in it, they have to say, okay, how can I, if I invest in this, it's going to save me X. What would be some numbers that you would say on a construction site?
Um, it's hard to say because a construction site could be a quarter acre, it could be thousands of acres. So to quantify that financially is hard. What we do is we save you time. Oh, let me throw a disclaimer in, and please don't cut this out. We are not a surveyors. We are not licensed to do that. We don't interpret anything. What we do is we take pictures represented to represent what you have, and you would take it to a surveyor or your architect and be able to come up with your own information. So there, I did my legal thing. Um, we save you time because again, going back to what a surveyor does, they can get it more accurately. I can do it quicker. It depends on what your needs are. We save you money. It would take them a crew of 5 to go out there to survey this 10 acres, this 20 acres or whatever, and all the detail that needs to be done. I'm going out there with myself and maybe assistant who's called a visual observer who helps me keep track of where my drone is up in the air because the bird's not that big. And in the sky, it's like, I see a black spot. Is that my something on my glasses? Is that a bird? I don't know what that is. No, okay, that's us. Okay, good, cool. You can do that. Um, we save on safety. OSHA loves it because we don't have to step on the side going up these hills, precarious hills or terrain to do any of this. We're just flying right above it. We're standing still, sitting in a chair, and just watching and making sure everything's running okay.
So if a contractor, this would be good for uh, some preliminary information. If you need to turn something quick and you're saying, hey, we're looking at doing a development or a build,
Mhm.
how to get some rough calculations quick. I mean, 3% is pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Again, depending on the engineers, they'll say 3% isn't accurate, or some people say that's extremely accurate. So depending on where you fall in that and what you're using it for, but that gets you really close very quickly
Hmm.
and can really help you put together an estimate or a bid. And if you can locate things, that's huge. I mean, the example that you gave in the beginning about seeing that something was off installation wise, I mean, we know as we build everything, that's if something's off, it's just a chain reaction. Everything else is going to be off. So that is a big savings. And I think the other thing is really good is bringing teams together on the communication and everybody looking at the same information, and
Hmm.
owners that are out of the area and they're being able to see the documents, because when you build, you don't always build right next to your home,
Yeah.
and to be able to see that information, I think is really, really powerful. What would you say for somebody that's looking at this, how do they know when this would be good for them? So we kind of said who it's good for, but how would they know? Is it just we said anybody that's doing exterior work, is it a certain size? Is it building, maybe 10 homes, a development? What would you say, where is there anything that's too small, or what's a good starting point?
Good question. Again, I deal with commercial buildings. Currently, I'm working with a GC that's doing a lot of veterinary hospitals, and he's utilizing my pictures for Facebook, for LinkedIn, for social media, his website and such, and to show progress. He's also utilizing it to share it with the stakeholders so they can see what's happening. They're the ones that's putting out the hundreds of thousands of dollars for that. They want to see something done. It's like, I'm writing these checks, but so for anyone that's responsible to someone else or needs to share, bank officers, loan officers, they like to document this kind of stuff too, and it helps them document what's done, when it's done. So there's the legal side of this that you can document, timestamp everything.
What about inside, as you're putting in pipes and plumbing and all
Mhm.
that type of stuff? Do you fly inside as well before it's actually complete? Is that a part of it?
I have colleagues that do that. They fly inside for residential real estate to be able to give them a 360 tour. What I do is I have a 360 camera that I go in and do the same site progression so that when the studs are up, I go in and take a picture. When the pipes, drainage, plumbing, and everything goes in, I can take another picture. When electrical goes in, and when they seal it up, so that they keep that on a flash drive or on a file and to be able to access it when repairs need to be done. Again, when I do it, it's on a commercial site. So it's very helpful for the maintenance or facility people to know where everything is and where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, these are really great tips. What do you think you can do to get some more awareness? I mean, this is one thing, putting it out there, but how do you make more people aware of this? I mean, what are some of the things, or how fast do you think people can adapt to this? Because I'm hearing a lot of value,
Mhm.
but it's about getting the word out. And, how do you do that? I mean, what are some of the things that you think would help the industry?
Um, Talk to someone like myself. We'll show you what we can provide. And if you use this once, it's just part of your education. You paid for everything else. Um, your OSHA training or your whatever training. You had to learn. And this is one thing. We're a tool that's going to save you money, save you time, and save you headaches. The contractors, my question to them normally is, what keeps you up at night? What do you think about the project? And one thing keeps on coming up, uncertainty. I'm not sure what they're doing. If they're running more than one site and they don't normally show up, let's say they're running three, they have to know what's happening there in order to make sure the supers are done, are taking care of the subs, that everything's being delivered on time. Well, I can show them what's there. So I remove that uncertainty and I give them peace of mind. That peace of mind gives them a higher profitability because they know what's getting done and they can schedule out or modify as need be. So we save money and we help you make more money.
For that, the uncertainty thing and peace of mind, I think that a lot of people can relate to that, to say this is something that they want. They want to know subs are showing up. They want to know that things are going on. Is that every day? Is that every week? Or what have you found is like a good sweet spot to document that? Because, subs could show up on different days.
Mhm.
What have you find to be kind of a sweet spot with, some of these commercials that have a lot of activity?
Um, for a commercial job site, let's say a 10-acre one, which is modest size, once a week from when they break ground or pre-bid all the way until they get the building up is great. They can see actual progression. I have other people that are doing every other week, once a month. It's whatever information that they require from me, I'll get it to them. But a week to 2 weeks is normally what I recommend.
Awesome. Some quick fire questions just to kind of wrap up here. The construction industry would be better if
you can trust the word of the people that you're working for, and you can trust the word of the people that are working for you.
Good one. Trust is a big thing.
It is. That's everything.
I can build or do this in my sleep. What is it?
Fail. I'm good at that. Come up with solutions. And that's what I really enjoy, especially with the product development thing, mindset, is to see something. I have a lot of tools that I could utilize, but I need to know what you need, and I'll develop things around that. So the deliverables are the most important thing, and how it come to it is not as much, because I'll figure it out.
Biggest challenge?
Having patience. When you see something needs to get done, as a former GC, and I'm just there to take a picture, it's like I want to say something, but just be quiet. It's real hard.
Yeah, that's I feel like when you're wired that way, you just want to like dive in, grab the bull by the horns type of thing and make it happen. I mean, that's definitely, I think a lot of people can relate to that. Biggest skill
is right now flying the birds. To be able to give a quality picture or quality images, quality mapping that'll come up with great images for you to be able to utilize and be able to see. We can zoom down to a 30-story building and give you the ID tag off the AC unit on the roof and not be anywhere near it.
Wow.
That's fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm telling you, this is
and their toys.
This is a good one. What's last thing you got on Amazon?
Propellers, landing gear, more batteries.
That's
all
fitting.
Work related, but everything's work related.
Favorite brand of equipment?
There used to be something called Craftsman, but they're not around anymore. I don't know, because it's hard. They're so specialized now that I can't pick one thing.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Craftsman was an old school. I mean, they were like the best back in the day, and then they kind of, faded away. Last question. I want other business owners in construction to know what?
That there is a lot of technology out there that can help you. Find someone that you can trust, listen to what they say, and develop your own opinion. When someone says drone, don't go to the military, and don't go to a 10-year-old that's your niece, nephew, your kid, your grandkid, and say, oh man, that's just a toy. It can be, but it's also a tool. And if it's used correctly, it's a powerful tool.
Those are great words of advice. I love this segment. I love creating awareness for opportunities that contractors don't even know are there. I love the idea of using drones in the construction, helping you save money, keep people accountable. It's a great episode. Dan, I really want to thank you for joining us today. Thanks again for the information.
Thanks for having these. I enjoy them. I've listened to them for a while, and I've grown and learned. So thank you.
Thanks again. Hey, it's Seth. Thanks for listening. For more information about my Blue Collar Mastermind group, Blue Collar Gear, free resources, or my book, go to bluecollarbusinesscoach.net. You can subscribe, like, and share if you enjoy this. Thanks again.